Hey YouTube, today I want to do a video about what I think will be the last bubble. We all know that there's been a lot of bubbles throughout the history of capitalism, right? The South Sea bubble, the tulip mania, the internet bubble, the housing bubble, railway bubble, all types of things, right? And it's sort of the way things go in the system that we're in. It's boom and bust. But, as time has gone on, increasingly, all of these bubbles, recent ones anyways, have been bailed out. And they've been bailed out by the governments of the world. And also there have been a lot of nations that have experienced huge crises, like Asia, Mexico, Russia, and the other world economies bailed them out. And all those bailouts have gone into government debt, which is going to be the last final bubble before the collapse of the system as we know it. It's the bond market, also known as treasuries, also known as sovereign debt. And right now interest rates are pretty low. And but if interest rates continue to rise, this debt is going to become harder and harder to service. And you need to realize that bonds is a lot bigger than the stock market. It's maybe your average person doesn't realize how important the bond market is, but it's extremely important. And pretty much all of the pension funds are into bonds. A lot of individual investors are into bonds, as well as Social Security bonds. All types of government programs are into bonds. It'll have a huge effect on everybody, more so than if the housing market collapses, more so than if even the stock market collapses. It'll have a worldwide effect and on every person. And a lot of people think that bonds are very safe, but actually they're not. There's no obligation for the government to pay bonds back at all. It's legally they don't have to pay them back. The only consequence is that it'll be harder for them to borrow in the future. So and they can also delay payment. They can inflate the money, which they are doing right now. But as there's more and more risk, then like I said, interest rates are going to go up, and eventually it's just going to collapse because it's unsustainable. The amount of debt that they've taken on is impossible. It's impossible for them to actually produce that much money in the future to pay all of it off. It's a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid scheme, and like all of those type of schemes, eventually it's going to come to an end. And like I said, that will be the end of this system. It will be the end of capitalism. And it'll be the final bubble in a series of bubbles.